everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Experience Maker Show. This is your host, Dan Gingiss, customer experience speaker, author, podcaster, and coach. So happy to have you here with us today. I want to start by reminding you that we are getting really, really close. In fact, we are less than 2 months away from the worldwide release of the Experience Maker, how to create remarkable experiences that your customers can't wait to share. And good news, the book is not only available for pre-sale now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Walmart.com, wherever you buy your books, but also if you go to my website at dangingiss.com/consumer-bulk, and I'm going to put that in a banner in just a moment, you can sign up for some amazing bonuses if you want to buy additional books. Actually, I'm going to give you just the link right to the Experience Maker book, because that will take you there, and check it out, because this is like my life's work right here. And I think you're going to absolutely love it. It is a terrific book. I cannot wait for it to show up to the world. So here is the website. If you want to go check it out, theexperiencemaker.com. And if you add book at the end of that, the Experience Maker book, you'll get to the book page. Okay, enough of this, because you know what? I got a fantastic book. I got a fantastic guest here today that I cannot wait to introduce you to. This is such a great networking example, because it was like I saw this guy on another person's show and I reached out to him, and now the two of us connected, and we've been chatting, and now he's on my show. Super excited. His name is Troy Sandidge, a fellow Chicagoan, and he is the founder and CEO of a company called Strategy Hackers. He is the strategy hacker himself. Welcome, Troy. How's it going?
Thank you. And yes, you do have a fantastic book. So order it, y'all. Pre-order. Get that thing on record. Yeah, I'm happy to be on the show.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to have you as well. Tell us a little bit about yourself. You got a really interesting background. So tell us about Troy and how you ended up where you are now.
So, as the name precedes itself, I am the strategy hacker. Basically, I eliminate complexity to provide clarity so you can get sustainable, scalable results through strategy. That's our superpower. That's what I've done. In a previous life, I ran agencies, actually 3 of them, in fact. And now I'm here using my strategy superpowers to help you grow. And that's what I do.
All right. And so tell me about these superpowers. What kind of, how did you develop said superpowers?
Oh, my goodness. So I think part of it was just my mentality. I'm a workhorse. I think through things. I literally feels like I see the Matrix every day. I pride myself on just providing on-demand things. People, but Troy, what do you think? And it's not like I need time. I'm already talking through a problem with someone, and hopefully, hey, we got clarity, or it's a sounding board or something along those lines. And over the years of my time in the agency world, in the freelance world, in corporate America, in various sectors and industries, it's just made it easy, where it's just, how do you connect the dots? People already have the answers, or they know what they need to do. It's just sometimes they just need another human, as you know, Dan, to provide a clarity, to allow them to see the dots, connect them all together in a straight line, to provide them to whoever their target audience is.
Sure, absolutely. So strategy is an overused word, and it certainly can be very broad and can mean a whole lot of different things. So what kinds of strategy do people ask you to hack? Is it marketing? Is it experience? Is it building a new business? Is it all of the above?
Probably all of the above. I'm a person that I get bored easily, and I like to do a lot of different things. And so what's the overarching thing? Well, I'm like, well, I can do strategy, but then that's in different focus areas. That could be marketing, that could be growth, that could be community, that could be diversity and inclusion. It could be innovation, it could be mindset, it could be marketing, it could be all those different things. But in my mind, strategy is this, you're going to need strategy everywhere you go. I think the stigma is I only need it once. And that's not true. And I apply it to this way with a basketball coach. You assemble this awesome team. Maybe you're a Milwaukee Bucks fan. Maybe you're a Phoenix Suns fan, for those who know, are in the NBA Finals. And whatever it is, if the team is performing well, they don't get rid of the coach, do they? They need the coach to make that success sustainable. The competitor could change. The plays could not work anymore. You could lose an injured player that was the cornerstone of that particular set of plays. The coach is there to make sure they're on track all the way through. The same way, you need strategy. all the way through. It's not a set it and forget it. It's a constant evolving living thing. And I think it does have a stigma, and it is used a lot because people think, ooh, I made a brand guideline. Ooh, I made a blueprint and I'm done. Strategy is a constant. What's working? How do we make that always work? What's not working? What have we learned from that? How can we reapply it to hopefully do better next time? And as we all know, marketing is a series of trial and error. It gets tiring, it gets annoying, but it's necessary to bring out desirable outcomes.
Well, it actually reminds me of one of the key approaches to customer experience, which is making sure that you have a feedback loop with your customer. And, and similarly in marketing, it's all about getting that feedback loop, which in marketing is going to be, are people responding and doing what we want them to do? And if so, great, let's do more of it. If not, let's adjust and try something else. And it's one of the reasons I loved marketing for so long. I mean, I did it for 20 plus years. And to me, test and learn was the most fun part. In fact, I have a great story. I don't even know if I've told it on this show before, but I think you'll like this as a marketer. So one of my roles at Discover, I was in charge of the Sunday coupons channel. So this is like, the grocery coupons. Discover had an ad every single week. And this is like 54 million circulation, 48 weeks out of the year. So you can't just have one control ad. You have to have like 5 controls, and you're constantly testing against the controls, because we had learned early on, if you ran the same ad 2 weeks in a row, no go. So we were testing absolutely everything from, obvious stuff like the headlines and the words on the page to the color of the credit card. If we would just switch the card and show a different graphic, it would make a difference. So one time I decided to try out my undergraduate psychology degree. And it occurred to me that in credit cards and banking especially, there's a lot of fine print. And that fine print is usually referred to with an asterisk. So I went to the law department and I said, do I have to use an asterisk? And they said, well, what do you mean? I said, can I use another symbol, or is an asterisk required? And they said, no, as long as you have a symbol that then matches to the fine print at the bottom, we don't care what you use. I said, thank you very much. So my psychology degree said to me, an asterisk suggests that there's fine print, that we're trying to hide something, that there's, whatever. What if we just used a footnote number instead? Because a footnote, when you're reading in a book or something or an article, that suggests that there's more information, not that there's a catch. So all we did on this ad was we took out the asterisks and we just replaced them with little number ones. That was it. Everything else was the same. And we saw a double-digit improvement in response, right? And it was like people were stunned, because what kind of who even thinks about that kind of stuff? But what I learned from it is that everything matters. Even the smallest stuff matters, and it can affect how somebody responds. What do you think? Did my theory make sense, or was it?
It makes sense to me. You got me as a customer. Oh my gosh. That is a really dope experience. I think in part, it's really, and marketers say it, business leaders say it, thought leaders say it, understand your customer, but that's really a prime example of really understanding your customer, knowing like, this isn't it, and just making it easier for them to make a decision. And that's what most people want anyway.
So tell me this, Troy, because I have a somewhat newish theory I want to run by you.
Sure.
I'm doing a presentation later today for a client that asked me to talk about the fact that everybody in the business is really in customer experience, whether they think they are or not, because even somebody on the back end in the finance department is probably working on something that has an effect on the customer experience, even if they're never face-to-face. So I started thinking about marketing and marketing's role in customer experience. And what I think is really fascinating is I think marketing's role has evolved to being the promisers of the experience, the people that talk about, here's what it's like to do business with us. And they sort of set up the experience, which of course, then we have to make sure that the company can actually deliver on. But I hadn't thought about marketing in that way before. And I'm just wondering about your reaction in terms of, is marketing's job really to tell you, to kind of promise what the customer experience is going to be like?
I believe so. I think marketing is not only the beginning, but I'm going to use a reference from Loki. I'm not giving any spoilers, but if you think of Miss Minute, she is there guiding folk throughout the whole thing, even though there's plot twists. But anyway, I won't go there. My point is marketing is that guide, is that person or that group, that team, that individual, Jiminy Cricket, wherever you want to say, that leads you through, hey, this is the introduction. You don't know we exist. You may not even know you have a problem yet. But if you do, here's the signs. Here's our solution. Here's our mission. Here's our why. Here's our value. Here's our customer experience off the cuff. Let's join. Let's go open the door and let's walk through it together. And you're taking them on the phase. I don't see marketing now as I'm going to pass it over to sales. Marketing is still there holding their hand and walking them through sales and as assistant to sales and whatever other funnels and whatever other processes you have in place. And like you said, Dan, everyone's in the CX business because it all impacts the final decision. It all impacts them not only being that one and done. Everyone wants money, but is it sustainable?
Yeah.
Is it retention based? And I think marketing plays a part all the way through that. And it definitely has evolved when you think of the product, price, place, and promotion. This has completely changed. We're now focusing on the experience. We're focusing on engagement. We're focusing on exclusivity. And we're focusing on all these other things. That's how that's working. And I think once marketers realize that now more than ever, I'm not trying to say the other line that we always say since the pandemic, it's allowed everyone else to see the bigger picture. And that you have to assume our customers, our consumer base, whoever you're targeting, is far more educated now than they've ever been. They have this thing called a phone. They can fact check everything. They can triple check everything. And we've had time to know what works, what doesn't work. And the only thing that's left is customer experience.
Man, totally agree. And I think that the only coda I would add to that is that marketing is often the first part of the experience. I mean, the way that we're introduced to a brand is often through marketing. It might be a TV commercial. It might be a Facebook ad. It might be, some sort of even a piece of mail, right? Or an email. It's often the first introduction that you have that's the experience has already begun. You haven't become a customer yet, but the experience has begun. If the marketing is funny and it's memorable, the experience has begun. I'm starting to frame an opinion about this company based on the marketing that I'm seeing. And I think that does put a bigger weight on marketing's shoulders than maybe was there before, because as you said, it used to be where kind of their job just was to make the sale. But in order to make the sale, it's a lot more complex than it used to be. So I want to dive a little bit into your business. What are you seeing? You're getting, we were talking before we started here that things are busy, which is awesome. What are people calling you about? What are the types of problems that they're having that they're saying, Troy's my man to help me address this?
I'm finding the first thing is people are having an issue with transition. They don't know what that looks like. They don't know the process. They just want to come out as clean as possible with the least amount of mess, with the hopes and potential to make the most money. Point plain and simple. And sure, you'll have the people who, to this date, well, I guess I should finally jump in the field of social media, digital marketing, all those things. But then you have those people who have been in the game for a long time, have been that legacy style brand for a long time in their industry, in their niche, in their geolocation, whatever. And now they're seeing the numbers going to a place they've never seen before, where maybe they had to make some tough calls, whether that's from people on staff or amount of money and budget. The pay to play is not working anymore. And they're just seeing the numbers going down. They survived quarter one, quarter two, going to quarter three, dealing with quarter four, and there's fear for the first time. And I'm like, what do I do? I can put more money into ads. I can learn how to do some TikToks. I can double down on LinkedIn. But what do I do? And so we'll talk. And I just asked them, what's the goal? Simple question. What's the goal? And sure, they'll be like, well, everyone's like, well, obviously they want money. No. What's the goal? What have you done? What is the process? Okay. And we're just going to go through a list of everything you've tried that doesn't work and everything that you want to keep. And what does success look like? Because I think that's the bigger picture. After everything that we've gone through pre-pandemic, now we're in 2021, we're still making a lot of strides, still a lot of things happen. What does success look like for you now? Maybe before you didn't have to really think about that question. And then what does the success look like for the end user, the consumer, the customer? And where those two things align? And how much effort would you like to get from point A to point B? Once I have that kind of breakdown, we can reverse engineer backwards. And I think now, previously, people weren't doing that as well. And now they're open to it. But I think they don't know how to connect the dots. They've been so deep into it They need someone like me or someone like you to come around and from 50,000 feet up in the air, here's the bigger picture. You said you wanted this, but your actions, your messaging, your copy suggests another. And the other thing I want to break down really quickly is what I help them with, more important than everything else, matching the perception of value that you think in your head, my product is amazing, my business is amazing, my service is amazing. Does that match the perception those who are driving by, you think of yourself as a billboard, will they see the billboard, have a mental note, once they get to their destination, call, go to your website, book an appointment, buy the product? If that value is not the same, your perception of value is off. And so you have to realign that. And that's one of the biggest case studies or biggest problems most people come to me have.
Well, totally right. The old saying, perception is reality, right? And I the way I like to frame it is to say, hey, your programmers and coders might say that you have the best, easiest to use mobile app in the world. But if your customers think it's confusing, the answer is it's confusing, right? That's their reality. And it doesn't matter what your coders say. They're not the ones using it. They're not the ones that are the customers. And, one thing I always recommend to clients to sort of address that, it's really simple, but it's amazing how rare it is become a customer of your own company. Go through the steps, sign up for your own website. In fact, forget a password on your website, right? And go through that annoying process. And you start to find places where you can say, hey, this is really not the experience that I thought we were creating. And let's make it better. And it's remarkable how often executives, how long it's been since they've gone through their own experience, maybe never. And I think that's a really easy way to start figuring things out. And the other is just listen to your customers. And I'm sure that you do this with your clients all the time is, hey, when's the last time we actually sat down face-to-face with our customers and asked them about the experience? How are we doing? What do they think? Not just tracking an NPS score, that's fine. That tells you how you're doing, but it doesn't tell you why. And if it moves up or down, you can't take any action off of that because you don't know why it moved up or down. And I think it's so important that we get to what I like to call the actual voice of the customer. That is hearing them speak, right? Voice of the customer. A lot of people, you say that phrase and people think it's just a report, kind of like a marketing report. Well, here's how we did. But hearing the actual voice of the customer is really, really important. I remember one time in my career where I was running a social media team and we were getting a lot of feedback on our television commercials, and some people loved them and some people really didn't like them and had some legitimate reasons. It wasn't just a creative differences. It was like, oh, we didn't think that people were going to take the message that way, but now they're taking it that way and we better do something about it. Getting back to that feedback loop. So really interesting. And I think it's fascinating to me how so much of what we do ends up overlapping. Like you and I would say in a lot of ways are in very different businesses. And yet we've got clients that are saying the same thing and having the same kinds of challenges. And maybe we approach it slightly differently, but it is I do think it's universal. One thing I wanted to ask you when you were talking was, are you seeing, one of the big fails in customer experience is that organizations, especially as they get bigger, are so siloed. And you mentioned about you being that person that can take the 50,000 foot view. Are you seeing that silos in organizations are sometimes the cause of why they don't understand the whole picture?
Oh, most definitely. You need to have a master level course across everything. Not that you need to be a jack of all trades, but you need to understand the language and how they all interconnect. Most people, when they hire, they'll give them here's a brief overview of marketing and accounting and finance, but they don't go into the deep of how they all connect and why their job is vital to the overall experience, to the overall profit margin, revenue, sales, and success of the organization. Which that takes too much time. Really? I beg to differ with that. And I think the other part with silos is that, like you said earlier, they get used to their own bubble. They get used to their own way. Some parts of the business are on the front lines. They see the change, the trends all the time, constantly. And some people may be in the back of the school bus. They never know what's going on. I haven't had to change to learn new software in 20 years. Yeah. I'm good. And they're not aware. They're not cognizant of what's happening. And I think, yes, it's great to have micro groups that focus on, small tasks, very important, moments. But it's also just as important to make sure everyone's aware of the bigger picture. And where does that lie? That lies with the executive staff. That also lies with the department managers, but that also lies with each individual employee, staff member, freelancer, contractor, whatever. But you as an organization have to create a nucleus, have to create space for that to even happen. And I think that's where the disconnect is. They're not creating that space to allow that awareness to be, because maybe they're not as transparent, they're not as vulnerable, or things like that.
Yeah, I like to say you should know enough to be dangerous about your entire company. And because another part of that, even as a marketer, is you never know when you're at a cocktail party or a networking event or something, and somebody asks you a question about your company. All of a sudden, now you're the company's representative. You didn't ask to be, right? But you're the face of the company. And, if you're sitting there and you don't really have any idea what's going on, it's not a good look. But if you, at a minimum, you can say, oh, yeah, that's a different area. I don't work on that, but I know that we offer this product. I got a friend, Troy, he's over in this other area. Let me introduce you. Now you've just created a ton of value for somebody, and you've made your company look good. And I think that is marketing, right? That's and the reason I come up with that example is when I worked at Discover Card, we talked a lot about when you go out to dinner with your friends, you better pull out that Discover Card to pay for dinner. Because what would it look like if you pulled out your Amex card?
Exactly.
What is that saying about the company that pays your paycheck if even you don't want to use a product, right? It says a lot. It's why you walk into the Gap and all the people are wearing Gap clothes, right? Because they may not like Gap clothes, but they can't tell the customer that, right? We sort of have to. Anyway, wanted to ask you one last question. You mentioned it, and of course, it's the elephant in the room. We are finally coming out of the pandemic. Everything has changed. What are you seeing in terms of as companies are getting back online and back in person? What are you seeing in terms of things that are doing differently, and maybe things that either they've started doing during the pandemic that they're going to keep doing, or things that they stopped doing during the pandemic that they might continue not doing?
One, I think they're going to give the customer more credit. I think we live in this bubble that I'm this and my customers are no. They're here. They might even be beyond you at this point with awareness and understanding. And so it's not to say that you're at the literal mercy of the customer, but it is saying that put some respect on their name, put some respect with how you engage. And I think one way of doing that is being present. I think what we're going to see in the next 2 years, oh my God, future plug here, is that community staff members, A, should deserve a pay raise, but two, are going to be more vital than they've ever been before to ensure sustainable success of a company or organization. It's not enough to have some big shot in your videos or just have all this great high quality stuff. I want to know from your active users, your active participants, do they rep your brand? Are you the Tesla to your industry or niche where people are like, I maybe can't afford it right now, but I want to be a part of the community. And when I get my money up, when I saved up, and when I ask for someone to give me the money, I'm going to buy that Tesla. And I think companies now are understanding more so than they've been before. We got to put a little bit more effort, not just on the ad dollars for exposure. Because yeah, I could pay $10,000, $100,000 a month to get people see your brand. But if there's no community behind it to have that trust factor, they may not do it. And so I've helped people like apply this Clover method. And it's helped people walk through that process to figure out what's the vision. And so the C is clarity. Again, we talk about those 3 goals. What are your goals? Leverage. How do we leverage our community? How do we leverage our team? Eliminate those silos. What are your superpowers? And how do we connect those superpowers to make the Justice League or, the Avengers if you're not a DC fan? Try to make it equal. And then from there, optimization, the mindset that in marketing and sales and whatever it is that your business is, whatever you thought was going to work last month may not work this month. Shoot, what you thought worked last week may not work this week. And so you're always in a state of optimization. That eliminates that friction that perfection is possible. We're just always trying to strive for better, for growth. The vision and the value, what's clarity? What's the difference between clarity and vision? Clarity is just understanding and aligning the goals. Vision is manifestation. manifesting, what do I want? I want Dan to get all these book sales. I want Dan to have an amazing quarter 4. I want to manifest that vision. And then the other part of that V is value. Yes, give value, but also make sure that you're, receiving value back. Then if you entertain and you're on the Experience Marketer show, you watch the show daily, you watch it every week and things like that, are you executing after you get the understanding? Does us no good if you put all this effort in reading books and everything, doing your process, going through your teams, if you don't execute. And obviously, we need to get the results. And that Clover framework is going to help people recognize what they need to do now to be more sustainable. And back to my point earlier, the big pictures that we're looking at now moving forward is community. And I'm not saying that because it's a buzzword. I'm saying it because it's real and it's true. Because community is COVID proof. Think about all the nonprofits that, someone has to donate money to me. I don't have a physical product to give them. Money's tight, cash flow is tight, but what do they do? I have a relationship with this brand, this nonprofit organization. I'm going to donate money to make sure they continue doing what they're doing. And in the same way, if you apply to the for-profit, you can have the same impact and the same power with your community.
I love it, man. I love it. And such an important part of the experience, too, when you can share it with others around you and others can share it with you. Real quick, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, I've made it so easy. Find Troy. Literally everywhere across wherever your social media goods are, you'll find me there. Strategyhackers.com. You want to learn about me and more about my business. But find Troy. You can find me everywhere. I live on Twitter. I live on Clubhouse. Easy to find.
Outstanding. Well, I am glad to have found Troy, and it was a pleasure talking with you as always, man.